Welcome to this tutorial regarding how to create those wonderful catch lights for your figures inside Daz Studio. So as we all know, the eyes are the windows to the soul, meaning that if your figures do not have those wonderful catch lights in the eyes, they don't look alive. So we really need to focus, especially when you're doing portrait photography, glamour photography, or renders, even better to say, that you need to have those lights, those actual catch lights in the eyes. It makes your model look alive. Now, the first thing I'm going to say before we actually start this tutorial is that it really helps if you have a HD figure. I mean, the HD figures are absolutely amazing. I really encourage you to go spend a little bit of your hard-earned money and buy a HD figure. So the HD figure I'm using here is the RY Caprice. She's got excellent skin, and the eyes for this figure are absolutely phenomenal. It's going to help a lot. The only reason I'm saying this is because if I show you with a Genesis 8 character, the results are going to be okay and not really great. That's why I'm showing you with a HD character, because I want you to actually spend a little bit of your hard-earned money and really just purchase a high quality HD character. And you can always customize that character using morphs and things like that. That's cool. But if you just get like a foundational base HD character, a really good one, your actual glamour photography, these catch lights are going to look absolutely amazing. So the first thing I want to show you is the setup I've got here. So I've got my camera already focused. I've got my glamour pose, so to speak. So this is my glamour pose. This pose I will give you as well. So link in the description for that as well. You'll get this pose in this little package I'm going to put together as well. What we need to do first is I need to just add our lights. So I need to add our primitives, which is going to be a plane. It's going to be a torus, and it's going to be a cone. Those are the three different variations, and I'm going to show you how you can do it with just a HDRI light if you want the catch lights as well. So we're going to give you 4 different ways on how you can create those wonderful catch lights. So let me just set this up really quickly. So I'm going to go to create, primitive, and plane. You don't need to worry about these settings or anything, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually set this scene up for you. So I'm going to set it up as a scene that you can just put into your content library. Double click on it and the scene will load for you. And the only thing you will have to do is just place your character in the zero axis position, and you're good to go. So, and obviously you'll have to move the camera as well into the correct position wherever you want it. But the actual cone and the plane primitive and everything else will already be set up for you, so you don't have to worry about this. So I'm just going to go through this very quickly and see if I can set it up for you right now. So my plane is probably at the bottom there, right? So what I want to do is what you do with the plane, because I want it positioned where the camera is, because I want the light coming from the camera. So I parent it to the camera. All right, we go to the parameters with the plane selected, and I just make the X translate 0, the Y translate 0, and the Z translate 0, and there it is. Now obviously the only thing wrong is facing the wrong way, so I need to do a -90 rotate, so it's actually like that. Awesome. And then we can set all these other settings to 0 and the Z rotate to 0. So we're going to do the same with our torus as well. So create a new primitive, we're going to create a torus. These settings don't matter. These settings are not important, so don't worry about the settings. So the reason why we got a torus, the reason why we got a plane is that the plane is going to give us that rectangular kind of catch lights. Okay, so the rectangular catch lights that you see in some glamour photography, it's going to give us that effect. The reason why we have a torus, it's going to give us those ring light effects. So like a ring light. This needs to be 90 as well. There we go. Excellent. So that's the reason why we got a plane and a torus, and the reason why we got a cone. The cone is going to give us a different variation in terms of how the catch lights are going to look. So create, new primitive, and a cone. And again, these settings don't matter, because like I said, you will get this really cool package that I'm going to do for you, where you'll get the pose, you'll get basically the whole layout like a set by itself, and then all you need to do, you'll just have to add your figure in. So I'm going to make it really simple now for people to do this, so you don't have to worry about setting it up if you do not want to. So -90, there we go, and 0 and 0. So obviously I need to pull this back, so Z translate, just pull that back a bit. Cool, okay, so that's excellent. So the first thing I'm going to do is just hide these, because I don't want the, I'm going to put them back on. First thing I want to do is actually select all these and then go into my surfaces and then select all of them again. I'm using shift here to select all of them and go to presets here, and I want to make them emissive obviously because they're going to be our light. And for these settings, they're still selected. So remember, when they're all selected, when I make one change, it makes a change to all three. So it makes it more simple. So the emission temperature, obviously our light is going to be white. So 6500 Kelvin is our white neutral color, which is what our ring light looks like, which is what our like catch lights normally have, the white look inside our eyes when you see it. So we're going to do that. The luminance, I'm going to do candela per square. The reason will come apparent when I show you. And I'm going to start with a really basic value of 100. And that will change as well. So we're going to start out with like a kind of default value, so to speak. I'm going to hide these now because we're not going to start off with this. We're going to start off with HDRI maps first. So let's go to camera 1. Okay, cool. Everything's set. Actually, everything isn't set. I've actually forgot a few settings. So when we go inside to click on our figure here, RY Caprice. And then when we go to shaping here, and let me just bring this back so when it looks like this. So when it looks like this, I want you to open up your model here, whatever your figure's name is, expand that, and then I want you to go to the eyes here. Right. Now there's two settings in here which really affect the way the reflections pop, the catch lights pop. So the first one you want to type in here in this search section here is bulge. Okay, bulge. And it's this one here, eyes, cornea, bulge. Now this is red, so everybody will have this morphing parameter, this shaping parameter. It comes with Daz Studio, so you should have this when you search for it. This is why I'm showing you, because everybody will have this. And what you want to do with this, you want to whack that to 100. So what that does is the cornea, if you want a bit of a biology lesson, I'm not going to give you a biology lesson, but if you want a bit of the biology lesson, the cornea is going to be more like kind of bulge out a bit. So for example, if I can show you without kind of flashing, this cornea is like this section right around the eye here. You won't see it, it's part of the eye obviously here, and it's going to make the eyes a bit more bulge, so it's going to bulge, pop out a bit more. You won't notice it that much, so if I actually do it, you won't see anything really. You can see a little bit. I don't know if you can see the kind of color of the eyes there changing, the kind of color of the eyes. So that's bulging. I want to put that to 100 because I want the catch light to really be really like stand out when we get the catch lights going. So that's the first setting, bulge. The next setting we want is pupil iris. So I'm going to type in here iris, I-R-I-S. So the setting that you want is this one here, eyes, iris size. So the iris is basically this green section here. The color of the eyes obviously is the iris here. A bit of a biology lesson for all of us that kind of didn't do that well in biology in school. But I didn't do that well as well personally. So I'm learning biology right now as well. So the iris size, so as you can see, as I increase it, it gets bigger and bigger. Now you don't want to go crazy and do like 100 because that's just like really weird. You want to do something like, it depends on the figure obviously. You want to do something a bit more bigger than normal, so like less than 20%, so something like this is okay. Now when you do it like this, not many people will notice that the iris is bigger. I guarantee you, if I never told you the iris was bigger, you would never know that the iris was slightly bigger. It's very, very small change, but it makes a huge difference when it comes to the reflections. So cool, we've got those two settings. Those are the settings you want to do before you do any do any actual catch lights. So that's exactly what we wanted. Excellent. So those are the two settings, very important there. So let's turn on the NVIDIA iRay, and at the moment I've got scene only here, my render settings for environment. I actually want just dome only. All right, and I've already set some settings here previously, so you're going to see it's going to kick in very shortly. And the one I'm using here is this one, Shanghai HDRI. This HDRI is actually a free one from, I think it's HDRI Haven. I'll put the link in the description down below so you can get all the freebie HDRIs. There's loads of websites with freebie HDRIs, but this one is good. Now, the reason it says 2K there, I don't need a 4K one because I'm not going to use it as a background. 2K is normally enough. You don't need to get a 4K one because if you get a 4K HDRI, it's going to use more resources when you are rendering. So ideally 2K is enough because obviously if you are rendering up to 1080p, 2K is enough. If you're rendering to quad, then you may want a 4K map. But in this case, we don't need it because I'm not even using the background in this case. So here you can start to see we got some wonderful eye reflections here already. Really nice eye reflections. Looks like our model is live. The thing what you want to do with eye reflections, what you want to notice is you don't want them to be perfect. You want them to be slightly imperfect, meaning you don't want them to be at the same angle. You want them to be at a different angle, and you want to move them across a bit as well. You don't want them to be like perfectly central, because that's too perfect, and we don't want that. We want imperfections, because remember, it's the imperfections that make us unique, and therefore is going to make our figures unique as well. So that's very important. So as you can see, this figure is really awesome. The skin textures, I haven't done anything to skin texture. This is the way it is when you get the actual character, the figure. I haven't done anything. The only thing I've done is just swapped out the colors, because I think the eye color was brown when you start. I just made it green because I wanted a different color, something unique. And I obviously added the hair myself. That's it. So nothing fancy whatsoever. So what I recommend is you start doing the dome orientation. So start changing the dome orientation like 25 degrees. And obviously that's going to change the way everything looks now. So you're going to see it move. So we're going to see the Catchlights move. See the Catchlights now, they're at a different angle. So you never want it straight on. You want it at a strange angle, slightly different. And you can see here that we're getting some lovely Catchlights here as well. So I can obviously change the dome rotation. I could say, hey, let's try 235 and see what that does. So let's wait for the iRay preview to catch on. So obviously this is getting the actual light from the HDRI. So the downside is with HDRIs obviously is you're going to get that light that you may not want. So you may not want this light from the HDRI coming through, but you want the Catchlight. So yeah, there's a trade-off there, pros and cons of HDRIs. There you go. But there you go, we got some really nice Catchlights here. And the only reason it's really bright is because my HDRI map setting here is on 7. So I could really bring that down to something like, let's bring it down to 4, see what that does. It might go pretty dark. Okay, cool. That's respectable. I'm happy with that. So you can see the Catchlights aren't perfect. You know what I mean? One's about here and one's slightly here, and they're different as well, which is great. We want the uniqueness. We want the imperfections. We don't want it to be perfect. Excellent. So that's kind of like how you can use HDRIs. It's up to you what HDRIs you want to use. Obviously, if you use HDRI map to light your character, it's going to render a lot quicker because the lighting is already baked in to the actual HDRI map. Obviously, you can play with the other settings like dome rotation Z as well. So we can play with that setting if you want me to. I'll show you right now. I'll move it to 25 just to show you as an example, and you'll see that it's moved again. The actual the Catchlights have moved here as well. The kind of direction has moved as well. So I'm going to switch to scene only now, and we're going to actually use the plane now. So let me just go to the plane, turn it on here. We don't want to hide it anymore. And I have a feeling that the plane is actually in the way. It is actually in the way. So let me just Z translate that further back now. Here we go. All right, cool. So as you can see, the plane's quite big. So remember, the bigger the size of our plane, the more softer our shadows are going to be. And which means we're probably going to need to boost up the light. So let me just go to the plane and have a look. So let me just boost up the light of the plane by going to the surfaces. And let's make it something like 1000. Might be too bright. Yeah, okay. 500. 500. All right. That's still too bright. 250. All right, that's respectable. So let's wait for the render to kick in now. Remember, we're just using our scene lights only for the plane. So here you can see the plane, and you can see the actual rectangle that we're getting here as well. Now at the moment it's far too big. It doesn't look very good. So what I'm going to do is go to the plane here. I'm going to scale it down. So 100 is far too big. Something like 50%. We'll go half. Now obviously, because we've made the scale less of the plane, we're going to need to boost up the lumens. So let me go back to the surfaces. So you can see it's a bit more fiddly with the plane in terms of like you need to get the exact settings, because you need to figure out how you want to do the actual settings. A little bit fiddly, but still it is something that's going to give you unique eye reflection, as you can see already. So you can see already that you're getting these wonderful rectangle kind of square reflections that you would get if you were getting a image, say from a outside of a window maybe, or something like that. So it's really cool reflections. Now at the moment, the only problem with this reflection is that it's far too perfect, meaning look at it, it's right in the middle there. I don't really like that. So let's see if we can change some of the settings. So one of the settings you can change obviously is going to be the X translate. So we can move it, we can shift the plane to the right. So positive number of say 25 centimeters. And you're going to see it's going to shift. Obviously our light's going to shift as well. So the way our light looks, because we're shifting our light to the right. And so we're going to get some dark areas here. Okay. But you can see it shifted to the right now. So it looks a little bit more different, maybe a bit more to the right, say something like 35. So again, our light's going to change. So to get a bit darker here because our light's shifted to the right. But we've got this wonderful eye reflections here. The other thing we can do, we can obviously translate it. So we can say, hey, I want you to go up another 20 centimeters and see what that looks like. So now our catch light is coming up here. Obviously our lighting here has changed as well. So there we got our unique eye reflections here. Another thing we can do as well is we can do a Z rotate. So I can say, hey, 25 degrees, Z rotate. See what you can do there. All right, so you can play around with all these settings here. The only one you can't play around with is X rotate because you want that to be straight on, so to speak. Although you could actually play with it if you want to put it at an angle. So let's say, we're going to leave Z rotate, sorry. We're going to change the X rotate angle. So I'm going to say, hey, minus, let's try minus 75, see what that does. And there you go. So it's changed the angle there, and we can have a look at that angle actually. Let me go back to my other camera so you can see that it is now facing up. I want it to face down, so maybe it needs to be minus 125. So there you go, it's 125 now, and you can see we can have a look here on camera 1. There we go. So you can see that it's rotated slightly a bit. So as you can see, it's a bit more fiddly with the plane, but you do get that unique eye reflection in terms of over here, the angle here. Now, one cool thing you can do is obviously because it's a plane, we can actually add emissives. We can add our own emissive to give a crazy unique effect. So if I go to the surfaces here, so what I can now do as well, because it's a primitive, we can actually add a map on there, a texture to really change the way our actual catch light looks. So I could go to my map here, emission color, I can go to browse. So do you remember the tutorial I did with the gel lights? So all those, we can use that to create some really unique catch light effects using our actual textures for our plane here. So the one I'm going to use is, let me just check preview really quickly. We'll go for this one. It's pretty bright, asphalt. Cool. Okay, so I'll put that in there. I may need to boost the luminance up because it is quite dark. So we will do something like 5,000 and see what that does. Alright, just wait for that to kick in because it might take a while. I might have boosted it up even more. I think I will do something like 7,000. Excellent. Okay, so what will happen is when you get some really unique reflections in the eyes there. So one of the benefits, the kind of pros of using a primitive is we can actually customize it to our needs. So we've added a emission color to it, and we're going to get our unique colors here as well. So it's going to be very different, very unique, and that's what you want. You want something, you want your artwork to stand out, you want it to be unique, so you want to try different techniques to get these really unique effects. So we've got a bit here as well. You can see a little bit of color there. It's not that prominent, so maybe if I change these settings back to normal, so I think I had minus 90 here, and put the Y translate and X translate back to normal. And it's gone very bright, obviously. So let me go back to the surfaces and bring this way down to something like 3500. There we go. All right, let's see how that looks like now. Obviously, it's going to be really big, and we're going to see what kind of reflections we get. So if you look at these catch lights, very unique catch lights indeed. See the way it looks now? It looks very different to what we were getting before, and it looks like you can see a mirror image here of something that she's looking at. So it's a really easy way to create that unique image inside here. You can add any texture in here you want, anything you've downloaded from the internet. It'll look really cool. So there you go, really cool way we can do that. So now let's have a look at the Torus. So I'm going to turn off the plane here, and I'm going to turn the Torus on. So the Torus is going to give us the ring light effect. So I don't know if you've seen a lot of like interviews when you see the ring light effect, when you see on the social media or anything like that, or even when I'm doing it, when you see someone on YouTube, you'll see like a ring light eye effect in the eye. That's exactly what this is going to give. So obviously this needs to be boosted up. Let's try 1000. Might be too bright, I think, but we'll go with it. Yeah, it's too bright. 500. So even I don't know the exact settings, so we're still, as we are doing this, as you are doing this like learning how to do the luminous settings, you will figure out what roughly the brightness settings you need, and then you'll get a lot more used to the brightness settings. So here we go, we've got a wonderful ring light effect here as well, the kind of ring light effect you see in some photography, and that you see obviously when you see interviews or you see things on YouTube, you'll see like ring light thing in the eye, but that is exactly what it is. So there you go. Again, we can go to the parameters and we can change the X translate. So we can say, hey, this time I'm going to do -25. I'm going to go to the left. So I'm going to move that to the left, and the ring light will move to the left a bit. And I can do a Y translate. So I can say, hey, I want my ring light to go a bit more higher. So hey, 25, go 25 centimeters higher. So that's another way to move it around. And obviously we can use the X rotate as well to move that around as well. So again, a ring light, a really nice way to get those wonderful catch lights, unique catch lights. And again, we can go to the surfaces and add an emission if I want to do so. So I will pick something else. I think this fractal one is kind of cool. We'll pick this fractal one here and see what that looks like. So fractal here, just give that a second. And as you can see, obviously because it's fractal, it's going to use the all of the colors. It's going to give us that unique color as well. So this is going to need to be boosted up. I'm going to guess around about 1500. Nope. Let's go crazy, something like 3000. There we go. Okay. So you're getting that wonderful color. I'm going to get this really cool catchlight effect in the eyes. So again, very simple, very effective way to create a unique look for your catchlights. So there we go, a Torus, and we've got some wonderful effects here as well, making it stand out, making your figure look very realistic. All right, so we're finished with the Torus now. Let's go to the cone. So I'm going to turn the cone on, and obviously that is very, very low as well. So surfaces again for the cone, we will go something like 1000 because I think it's very small. There we go. So a cone gives you a slightly more rounded effect here. You can see it's more of a round, almost like your pupil here. It gives us that round effect. So whereas the plane gave us like a rectangle square effect, a Torus gives us the ring light effect. But a cone gives us the kind of like a spotlight effect almost. It's a spotlight and it's coming through a disc spotlight, and it's coming through and it's hitting the eyes there. Again, we can go to the parameters and we can move that around. So we can say, hey, I want to translate it by 50 this time, something crazy. And could do a we could do a negative translate if you want to, so -25. And then you can obviously rotate it as well. And that, there you go, that will affect the way it looks as well. So there you go, really great, really easy way to do this. One other thing you can do is say like, hey, I like the way it looks, but I just don't like it because it's a bit too bright. So what you can do is you can go to the surfaces here of whatever primitive, plane, Torus and cone, and you're saying, hey, that's too bright, but I do like the shape of it, the way it looks, the position, etc. You can say, right, the cutout opacity here, I'm going to just reduce the cutout opacity, so we can try something like 0.5. So that's going to make it slightly less powerful, the light there. So you can see that it's a bit more softer now. The catchlight is not as strong, not as harsh, but it's still there. It's still got the shape. It's still got the kind of like the brightness there as well. But it's not as like not as harsh, so to speak. So that's another way, another parameter you can use for each of these primitives to kind of really find the ideal catchlight that you want for your figure. So I know what you're all thinking. I'm thinking, that's great, Palmy. So let's say we like this. Let's say, I'm going to choose a plane, for example. Let's say, hey, Palmy, I like the way the plane looks and everything, but I ain't got no background. So what can I do for my background? I want a background. I've got a little bit of background here. Maybe your scene is further back like this. Say your scene is further back like this, for example. And you know, obviously it's got to be pretty close. Say something like this. But I want some background. So there's two options there with the background. What you can do is we can go to environment here and we can put in a background. So backdrop, and we can pick one from here, from the palette here. If you wish to do so, you don't have to. You can go for some colors. Say I wanted grey here. Got myself a grey background. Obviously that's not awesome. You might want something else. Cool. You can also add a background here, so you can always go to the backdrop here and add something. So I could go to browse here. I could go to my background here, and it will add it in. Just one of the gel lights, for example. So let me just turn that back to white so we can see that. Give it a second to kick in. So remember, this is a backdrop. It doesn't provide any lighting. It's just like a backdrop. So you can imagine like it's just a painting. It's just like a painting on a wall and there's no light coming from it. That's all it is. So it's a backdrop. So I've got myself a little backdrop here using a texture. You can do that if you want to. Do that. So I'm going to set that to none. And it's going to go back to the default. Or you can go to the environment mode here in render settings and say, all right, I want dome and scene. So I want dome and scene. And obviously turn the draw dome on, sorry. All right, and now I've got my background here, and I've got my catch lights, and I've got my light coming from my environment map as well. Obviously it's the wrong way around because of our previous settings, so we can restore that back to normal there. There we go. So I hope you found this tutorial helpful, useful. If you did, hit that like button. Make sure to hit that subscribe button as well if you want to keep learning and progressing on your journey in Daz Studio. Over here as well, I want to leave the comment of the week by DMer52. Thank you very much, DMer52. And for those of you that still want to learn more about Daz Studio, these videos are going to help you over here as well. They're really going to help you to level up those skills and become the best 3D digital artist you can be with Daz Studio. And having said that, I'll see you in next week's video.